So I'm going to go ahead and share my old screen here. All right. How's that looking? Good?
Looks great.
All right. Excellent. So I'm here and I'm going to talk about event streaming in 7 minutes or less. So hopefully people will time me because I timed myself and I made it 3 out of 4 times. I am a customer success technical architect at Confluent. Hello, there we go. Prior to this, I was a principal software developer at SAS Institute for 16 years, which is a super long time for most people to stay at one job. Then I met Kafka, and like 2 years ago, I like to talk about her like it's a person, but it's not. I know that. I'm well aware. I'm working on it. And decided to work on it full time at Confluent. I've been here for almost a year and I love it. I could not love it anymore. Other things about me, I love event streaming, integration architecture, and I take horrible photos. I like this slide because I just want anyone else out there who also takes horrible photos to know you're not alone. So that's about me. The way that I want to run this presentation is we're going to start and we're talk about 3 of the most popular patterns in event streaming. Then we're going to talk about how you might bring that into your organization. And then we're going to talk about once you've decided to do that and you know what events to track, what goes into an event, right? In terms of a schema, what's important to track no matter what. So let's get started. The first event pattern that's pretty popular is event notification. And that's where you just kind of throw out an event and that's it, you're done. So this could be something like, hey, an address got updated, or hey, an order was placed. Maybe there's something in your organization that you need to do every time someone places an order, no matter what. It's very simple, it's easy, it's a great first step for eventing. And this is, one of the main ways people get started into events. The next one is event carried state transfer. That's where you go one step further and you say something like, okay, I'm not only going to tell you that an address was changed, but I'm going to give you enough information about that change to let people downstream update maybe a local cache or a state store. So that really becomes a more valuable event. And then the third one that people talk about quite often is event sourcing. Now, event sourcing is very, very wonderful and very, very complex. It's not a good fit for everybody. It basically comes down to tracking every single change that's ever happened to an entity. And the way to know if you're doing it is your state optional? So however your application is maintaining state, can you blow that away and then rebuild it from an event store? If you can't, you're not fully event sourced. This can be great if you want to time travel. Me, for example, I would love to time travel back to March 13th before the pandemic ended and maybe play out these things a little differently. Like that would be good, right? Maybe, I'm thinking. But in an organizational setting, a lot of times people want to do things like, hey, let me test this new model, right? For energy pricing or demand or on older data and see if we can make it more accurate. So if you need to do things like that, event sourcing might be for you. So what do you do now that you say, okay, well, I want to bring eventing into my space? There are 3 things that I recommend everybody does. 1, know the events that matter. Nothing is more important than being prepared. Don't ever just dive in. There's it's a process called event storming, and it's where you get together with all your lines of business and you say, okay, I know that most of us care about addresses. We need them to do our jobs. We want to know in what states we're doing well. What else do we care about, and what do we need to know to act on it? You get everybody together, you decide what events are important. These should be things in plain English, again, and then you can act from there. The second is to know your systems. If you don't know where these things happen, you're going to fail. It's not very valuable to track orders placed 50% of the time. So you need to make sure you understand what systems these events occur in. And then here's my next most important: capture broad categories of events. Don't be narrow. If somebody says, look, we have a new mandate, and that mandate says we got to know every time an order is placed in Italy, grab every order, every time an order is placed. You can filter later downstream if you need to just have orders from Italy. You're going to go ahead and do that work. Make sure you make it count. Always grab big categories. So once you have this wonderful stuff and you know, oh, I want to event, this is how I'm going to do it, this is what's important to my organization, what does that event look like? This is a common question I get asked all the time, right? What should go in an event? And I will tell you right now. So one of them is the name. You have to have a name for your event. That's just common sense. Don't be silly. It should be something in plain English, like I said, or plain whatever language that you want to communicate in. It doesn't have to be English. It could be, any language. But the name should be order placed, address updated, something that makes sense. The next is event production time. And here's where it's going to get just a little bit complex. There's absolutely no guarantee that the system that throws this event is the system it happened in. That would be way too restrictive. There are patterns like derivative events where you can derive events from change data capture from a database. So there's no guarantee that a decoupling hasn't occurred, that you're going to need to know what time the event was produced as opposed to what time the event actually happened. There could be a disconnect there, and both are really important things to track. The next is source system. So I really dig legacy applications. More to the point, I really dig killing them and retiring them and having people get to work on new, fancy, employable things. So I like to call the source system an old evil application. I also like dinosaurs. And then event creation system, because again, the system that created the event might not necessarily be the same system it was thrown at. And then your detail block. This is going to be what makes that event storming all worth it. You're going to have the information that you need to make these events valuable to multiple lines of business. They're all going to be like, this is just fantastic. I'm so happy. And that's it, time. I think I made it. And now I'm done. Thanks, everybody.